Hey guys, Jocelyn here with Fantasia Elegance. I was going through some old photos recently and discovered this one of a design that I did when I was just starting to teach myself jewelry making and picking up some wire wrapping. And I thought it'd be really fun if I kind of went back and revisited it, just updated the style a little bit, made it a bit more refined, while still keeping it very beginner friendly and easy to make. So this is what I came up with in light of that. As you can see, I kind of refined the leaf shape a little bit, added a bit of wire weaving. But it's still just made with really one strand of that base wire. Let me go ahead and run you guys through the tools and materials you need to make these, and then we can jump right in and I'll show you how to make them. So I will be using some round nose pliers, chain nose pliers, and flush cutters. Feel free to check in the description section below if you're wondering about the exact brands I use and where you can purchase those. You might need to click see more or show more on a computer, or there's a little kind of gray arrow triangle icon just to the right of the video title if you're on a smartphone. You might need to click that to expand the description section, but I do have links for all the things I'm using. You might also find it helpful to have a ruler and Sharpie. And then for wire, you'll need some 20 gauge round dead soft and some 28 gauge round dead soft. I'm going to be using sterling silver from Rio Grande for the 20 gauge and fine silver for the 28 gauge. I just find it's really easy to weave with the fine silver. I do always recommend the first time you make a design using something very affordable like copper wire. Just in case you mess up and need to start over, you haven't wasted your very expensive sterling silver wire. You'll also need some 6mm beads, 2 for each earring. I'm going to be using amethyst with the sterling silver, but in these copper ones here I used some fiber optic or cat's eye glass beads, which I got on Amazon. I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description section below for where you can buy these. They come in all different colors. So to get started, go ahead and pull out your 20 gauge round soft wire. I'm just going to straighten out a little length of it here, and we'll be cutting a 4.5 inch length of that. And in metric, that's going to be about 11.6 centimeters. And you'll need one length like that for each earring. So what we're going to do is start on the end, and we're going to put a little loop in, and this will hold our bead so that it doesn't fall off. So I'm just looping it all the way around like that. Little loop. And then we want to take the wire going straight up. There we go. So we've offset our loop so we've got our straight wire. And then you can go ahead and feed one of your beads on there, and it'll sit right on the bottom. Now this is where having the ruler comes in handy and the Sharpie, because I'm going to put a little mark where we'll be making our first bend. So I'm going to pull out my ruler, and I'm going to stick it right at the top of that bead there and measure out 1 centimeter. And I'm going to put a mark with my fine tip Sharpie here, just at that 1 centimeter point, if it'll mark for me. And don't worry, this will rub right off of your wire later. So a very faint little mark, and that's just going to tell us where to make our first bend. So at that little mark, I'm going to take the wire and just loop it on over itself so that that little mark falls right at the top of the bend we're making. And then I'm going to pinch this on down so that it makes a tight little crimp there. Just like that. And what we've done is we've made the point of our first leaf, so we've just created this little point right here. Okay, so I'm going to open that back up ever so slightly with my round nose pliers, and now we're just going to start bending this over to create that leaf shape. And this tail we're going to loop around like this, going over the bead, so we're getting that kind of leaf shape put in. And then you should have your tail going off to the left. So once you're happy with your leaf shape there and it's looking pretty even on both sides, we're going to make another little mark with our Sharpie again. So for this one, I'm going to measure from where this tail crosses over the bead. And you want to go pretty much halfway between 1.5 and 2 centimeters. So I'm going to mark it at about 1.7 or 17 millimeters. You can see where I marked it there. And then we're going to put kind of a little S-shaped squiggle in going upwards. So I'm just going to bend this on around, gripping at this leaf shape to stabilize, and then using my fingers to just push that wire on over first one way, and then I'll grip a little higher, and we'll pull it the other way. So you can see we're putting in a little little swoopy S kind of motion. And that's going to give us this very cool appearance of kind of having vines and leaves in the piece. And then right where we made that mark earlier, I'm going to do the exact same thing, bending this wire on over so that the mark is right at the top center of where we're putting our sharp bend in. Okay? And as before, we'll just crimp that on down all the way. So you should have something looking like that now. And as before, I'm just going to open this back up a little bit and then take my round nose pliers and just ease it open there. Alright, so that's the point of our second leaf. And now, still taking this tail again, we're going to loop it on around to form our second leaf shape. And I'm trying to make the leaf about the same size and shape as the one below it. So once you have that achieved, I'm just going to grip right at the base of that second leaf and swing the tail all the way around. So we've got our two leaves shaped. And now we're going to next form the top little swirl portion, which is going to look like that. So we're going to put in a little arch and then a loop, so you can kind of visualize where we're headed. So again, taking my round nose pliers, I'm going to go kind of low on them to get the thicker portion, and just swoop this on around so that we're putting in a little arch at the top. And now, just so you know where to position this arch, I'm going to show you what the measurement should be. Basically, if you go from the bottom of this bead right there to the top of the arch, it should be just about 1 inch. Okay? So I'm a little over. I'm going to tighten that down just a smidge, just to make the overall length a little shorter. So again, from the bottom of the bead to the top of that little arch we're making should be just about 1 inch. Alright, and then to put that little loop in, I'm going to use my round nose pliers. Just take this tail and swing it all the way around. Put in a little loop right there like that. And you might need to refine the shape a little bit with your chain nose pliers. Something like that. And then we're going to keep continuing to curve this tail on around so that it comes and meets the junction at the base of that top leaf. And then what we're going to do is take this end and do a very small little open spiral going right that way. So again, with your round nose pliers, I'm going to grip where we want that spiral to happen and just start wrapping it around. And you want the spiral to touch that leaf right there on the side, and then the bottom of the spiral should just brush the top of this lower leaf here. Okay, and I'm actually going to open that back up a little more. I think I want the spiral to be a bit larger than that. There we go. Just curling it on around. And you'll have a little extra that you need to trim off, so I'm going to use my flush cutters to do that. And once again, just tightening that down a little more with my tweezer nose chain nose pliers so that we have a little spiral in there. So this is the point at which we're going to start adding that weaving wire to fill in the leaves. So go ahead and pull out your 28 gauge wire. And I have mine on a bobbin, but I'm not actually going to work from that. I'm going to cut a 9-inch length. And for weaving wire, I normally when I cut wire, I would, straighten it out with my fingers before cutting it. I don't want to do that with weaving wire because that will work harden it a little bit and make it harder to work with the weaving that you need to do. So it doesn't matter if it's got a few kinks when you cut it, just do the best you can. So I'm going to measure out 9 inches. For those of you in metric, that's about 23 centimeters. So we'll go ahead and cut that. And let's do this top leaf first. So basically I'm going to take the end of my 28 gauge weaving wire, I'm going to insert it into the leaf from bottom to top. I'm going to take about a 1/2 inch of this tail here and just loop it through So going down underneath and back up again, right at the very tip of the leaf. And then I'm going to pull that very tight. So if you can see, I've got two little wraps just at the tip of the leaf here like that. Okay, we'll leave that tail there for now. That'll help stabilize things. And then this other end is going back behind and underneath. That's exactly what we want. So I'm going to take the other end, feed it down through the leaf, beneath where we've wrapped already. Okay. I'm going to pull that tight. So we've put in a little loop on the other side of the leaf right at the tip. I'm going to repeat that again, taking the end, feeding it down through, pulling it tight, and we've placed another little loop right next to that one we already did. And you can squeeze it on down with your chain nose pliers if you need to. Okay, so we've got two wraps on each side. And then I'm going to take this longer tail and take it over to the other side, right next to where we placed those other ones. Taking the end of it, putting it down through the middle, and pulling it tight. So we're doing your basic figure 8 weaving, where we're just going back and forth, taking this weaving wire back and forth between each of the base wires and putting 2 or 3 wraps on the base wires before traveling back and forth each time. So let's take this end again, feed it back through there, pull it all the way around, and I'm going to push that little wrap down next to the other ones. So at the very tip here, I like to do 2 wraps in between transferring the wire. So we've got those 2 wraps. We're going to take this across again, over to the other side, and again down through the middle there, pulling it tight. So that's one. We'll do another one, feeding it down, pulling it through. There we go. And at this point I'm going to start putting in 3 wraps on each side before I transfer the wire over. So that's 3, so we're going to transfer it over now to the other side. Okay, and again taking the end, feeding it down through there. So that's 1. Here's 2. And again, I'm using my tweezer nose pliers to keep everything nice and tightly together. Here's 3. Okay, so that's 3. We're going to take it over to the other side now. So we're doing a little zigzag. And again, we'll do 3 wraps around here. There's 1. Here's 2. Here's 3. And transferring it over to the other side. So we're just going to keep doing that until we've filled in this whole leaf portion. Just your basic figure 8 weave. And if you guys want more practice with this weave, I have done some other projects that use it. I will go ahead and link those so that you can go look at them and check them out. So that's 3 there. We'll transfer it over. So hopefully you're getting the hang of this. I'm going to continue and do this for a few more passes. And then what we're going to do is once we get to the level of where this little swirl meets the leaf, we're going to use the weaving wire to attach this swirl right here as well. And as your leaf starts going back in and decreasing in width here at the base, you may find it harder to keep your weave even. You'll see it's trying to slide up like this instead of sitting right next to what we've already done. So after each pass, I just use my fingernails or my chain nose pliers to make sure that it's pushed on back down and snug and everything is staying secure. And also if you have trouble feeding this wire in this narrow space right here, you can just kind of twist it out of the way momentarily, just to create yourself a little more room to to pass this wire in between each time. So our leaf is all filled in, and now what we're going to do is take this little bit of wire we have left, and we're just going to wrap this swirl right where it meets right there. We're going to wrap a few times. So I'm going to take this tail from the back, we're bringing it back around to the front. I'm just going to wrap it around there 3 or 4 times just to secure that in. Keep it from going anywhere. And you want to make sure that you end on the back. We can use our flush cutters to snip that off. And I like the Zuron micro shear flush cutters for these little tiny areas. I also have the maxi shear for cutting thicker wires. There we go. And this little bit where we started weaving, we can also snip off on the back. I'm just going to press him on down so there's no little loose bits sticking out. You can check with your fingers to make sure it's all secure. So as you can see there, we've filled in the upper leaf. And things might have shifted a little bit as you did that. I want this leaf to be pointing up a little bit more, so I'm just going to grip here and squeeze ever so slightly to kind of point the leaf and angle it up a little bit more. Okay, and I'm just checking that everything's kind of in a line, this lower loop below the bead. The bead itself, I'm checking that's in a straight line with the center of this top loop. So that all looks good. Let's go ahead and fill in the second leaf now. So pulling out our 28 gauge wire once again, we're going to cut the same length for this one, 9 inches. Same as before. And just like before, we're going to do that thing where we take kind of the top ½ inch of our weaving wire, stick it up through the leaf, right at the tip. I'm going to stabilize it with my left hand here, so that's all stabilized. Taking your chain nose pliers, I'm going to flip it, looping it around, coming back up through there so that we have 2 wraps on that side of the leaf right at the very tip. Okay, and then with our other tail, as before, we're going to bring it around, back down through the leaf, below those other wires, and pulling that through, we're going to tighten it. Okay, and we'll do that again. And if you start getting a little kink as you're pulling it through, stop pulling and just reverse your kink so that everything's in a straight line again. Otherwise, if you keep pulling on it, you'll get a little knot or a kink in your wire, and that will make it more likely to snap on you as you're weaving. So just like before, we've got the 2 little wraps on each side at the very tip of the leaf here. Now, unlike before, we have this swirl right next to the leaf already, and we want to attach those 2 things. So what I'm going to do for that is do one more travel wrap. So I'm taking this tail, it's on the left side, we're going to take it back over to the right side. And just like before, feed it down through. And we'll do that again, so we've got 2 wraps. And we'll take it back over to the left side. So we're doing a little crossover there. So at this point, instead of bringing it up and wrapping it just around the leaf wire, I'm going to take it around both the swirl wire and the leaf wire, like that. Okay. And I'm going to wrap it around both of those 3 times. So taking my end back down through the leaf here, pulling that nice and tight, so there's 1. We'll do 2. And pulling it tight, we've got 3 wraps there now. And let's do a 3rd one. So we've got 3 going around both those wires. Let's do a 4th one just for good measure to make sure it's really secure. There we go, there's 4. Now at this point we're going to continue our figure 8 weave, just as if nothing had happened. So I'm going to take this weaving wire back over to the right hand side. It's going beneath, we're going to swing it around to start wrapping on this side again. So let's put in 2 more. We're going to continue with the 3 wraps on each side now. So there's 2, 3. We'll transfer it over to the other side. So we're continuing our figure 8 weave to fill in this leaf. Now at this point, because this space is closed off, we are going to have to feed it up through there to wrap it around our leaf wire. Okay, so I'm going to feed the end up through there so that we can start wrapping it around the left-hand wire now. So that's 1 wrap on the left-hand side. Again, to do our second one, we'll have to feed it up through this space. So that's 2 wraps now. We'll do 1 more. And now we want to transfer it over to the other side. So again, continuing the exact same weave as before, that basic figure 8 weave. We're going to fill in the rest of this leaf, just like we did the other one. There we go. And once you don't have room for any more wraps, you can just take it around this wire right above the bead once to secure things. And we'll just trim off the end with our flush cutters and push that end on down. Make sure it's not sticking out loose. And there we go. And then to finish these off, all we have to do is add a second 6mm bead dangling right below this one. So to do that, I'm going to pull out my 20 gauge wire once more. I'm going to get a flush end on it. We're going to make an identical little loop to the one that we put our first bead on. So just looping it all the way around there like that. And once again taking it off straight. And I'm just working straight from the wire spool at this point. Then I'm going to grab my bead that I'm going to be putting on here and just kind of guesstimate where to cut my wire based on that. Probably you want to have about 1 inch past the top of our loop there. Yeah, just about 1 inch. So we'll cut that there. You can feed your bead on. And for our second loop, we want this one to be perpendicular to the first. So this one's running this way. I'm going to run the other one at 90 degrees to it. So we're bending the wire off like that. And then we're going to loop it on around with our round nose pliers, taking it all the way around. And where it crosses over there, I'm going to snip it off. Okay, so we have a loop on each end of the bead, and they're going perpendicular. I'm going to open one of those up, just like you would a jump ring, by twisting it off to the side, so it's popped open a little bit. And then you can just hang it from the loop below our first bead. Okay, so let's close that on up. And you've got a little dangle bead below your first one. To finish these off, all you do is take your ear wire of choice, and I do have many tutorials on all different kinds of ear wires available on my YouTube channel. You can check those out if you are curious how to make your own ear wires. But basically you just open up your ear wire attachment, slide this on top, just through that top portion there, and you can twist it on closed. So again, you would make a second one just the same, except mirror image to get your pair of earrings. And this design doesn't just have to be earrings. You could take this kind of little link you made here, make a bunch of them, string them in a row, and have a really pretty bracelet. Or I suppose you could also tweak this to be an adjustable ring if you just made it a little bit longer, bent it in a circle, you could slide it on like a ring. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, found it easy to follow. I think this is a very fun design for springtime. We're starting to get leaves popping out on all our trees, so hopefully this is very timely for you. Do feel free to comment below if you had any questions about this, or if you have ideas for future tutorials you might like to see. I definitely take those into account. As always, don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed this and want to see more, and make sure you also click that little bell icon to turn on all notifications. Otherwise, YouTube unfortunately does not alert you when I post new videos, so you might miss out. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time. Happy crafting!